Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 4 of the Rich by Monday podcast. I'm your host, Jared Wilkins, the Google grad.
And I'm your co-host, Creighton.
Do you have to be a co-host or can it be two hosts, two hostesses? Two?
Sound like snack.
It can't be two hosts? Why it gotta be why it gotta be a co?
Um, host and hostesses.
Hosts.
Hoes. We are your hosts.
Yeah.
Host.
Host.
I guess host is plural. Do that. Host.
Yeah, the two hosts.
Mm-hmm. We your host.
So what's been going on, man? What's happening in the land of Creighton?
Well, as you can see, I have a mic now. So, for all our Spotify listeners, Apple Podcasts, I know it sounds much better. So I hope you appreciate it.
Yeah, price is going up. Yeah.
Right. Go and add yourself to our Patreon. It's only $5 a month. You get exclusive content. It's funny. I'm saying that because it's in my head because I was talking to my bro, and he was saying, he said, "Yeah, can I get the podcast early?" I was telling him like when we record. I was like, "Yeah, you signed up for our Patreon." So
I mean, I thought about doing that, but I was like, we'd have to offer a lot extra, and I don't know if I have a lot extra to offer on that level.
Or want to.
I mean, I get like the early episodes, but like, where's all this exclusive content gonna come from?
It's like, look, I'm doing this.
You know what I mean? Like, where's like the behind the scenes or the bonus footage or the bonus episodes? I'm like, I don't know, man. Like,
you got no bonus in you?
maybe in a little, like, couple months, maybe after episode like 50.
I think it's about recording what we're already doing anyway. That just takes more time. There's no time to put out and edit. I'm with just doing as less as possible in terms of creating content. So however we do that.
It's like we're normal people. So it's not like I'm sitting in the studio all day and then there's 12 hours of footage that we're sifting through. Like we sit down and then this is it.
So that's like, true. Well, there's a market for everyday people. I mean, that's 99.9% of us. So
yeah.
So, well, if y'all interested in that, we'll give you some behind the scenes of me feeding a baby.
Yeah, I mean,
cutting the grass.
if that's a real thing, I mean, I'm down to do it. If that's a real thing, I'm down to do it. It's just when you think about it on the front end, it's like, well, where does that come from? Basically, it's like, well, so if people want to see that, and if we, if they want us to go to Patreon so they can do that, I'm down to do that.
Yeah, maybe at a different time, we'll figure it out.
Well, maybe we should put a poll up, on Instagram and see what's.
That's a good idea. See, look at you now. You're doing some social.
I'm trying the internet. Okay, I'm trying the internet properly. I'm not. I don't. It's hard for me to talk to people.
Yeah.
That I don't know. If it's not about business. So, and like we were talking about earlier, I think the internet has kind of gotten us used to like sharing as least as possible with people, in regular normal interactions, because the internet allows you to be fake busy.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. So I could send you a message and you don't have to respond. You just double click that you like it. So it's like, oh, I saw it. Yeah. But then like if you respond after the like, it's like you a creep.
Yeah, I think the internet doesn't allow you to have real conversations sometimes. And like you said, it's perceived that it's something else. Like, oh, okay, you just slid in the DMs. I see what you
Yeah.
on. But it's like, no, I'm not on that. First of all, that road is too expensive. It's too expensive for me. So, um, yeah, I don't know why everything can't just be what it is. Surface level conversation as normal human beings. So maybe we bringing that back.
I think that's ambitious.
Well, the podcast is called Rich by Monday. So
Yeah.
it's all
Yeah.
about being ambitious. So
Yeah. Side note, I did have 2 shots of tequila before the podcast, so there's that.
man, you should have told me that. You should have told me this was the tequila podcast.
Man, it was a
When I
lot
got
going
in.
on. It was a lot going on, so I just had to I had to get in podcast mode.
Right.
And what better way to do that than tequila?
Yeah. Let me see. I might see what I have in my mini fridge. It's usually beers in there.
Nah,
The
man.
good stuff is over there somewhere.
Yeah,
I don't want to
so
be toe up though.
so
I'm a
anyway,
lightweight now.
it's because yeah, I mean, it's a given. We're 30, 33, 34 years old. I remember being like 21 and I could drink a gallon of anything.
Carlos Rossi. Shout out Carlos
Yeah,
Rossi.
yeah, absolutely, for keeping the party lit
Yeah.
on a budget.
Let me also shout out Big Joe West. This is the shirt I have on. This is some stuff he put together.
Oh, I was wondering where I seen that at.
Yeah. Just
Okay,
say no. There's the big
where you get
no.
that
The
at,
oh.
man?
It's exclusive.
Oh, okay, all right.
No, I just basically just
Okay.
I basically I mean it's pretty simple. He put it up like, yo, this is X amount of dollars. And I said, yeah, make me one. Order and then ordered it, So slid the DM. So and he hooked me up. So
All right. Well,
you know,
happy birthday too. Happy birthday, Big Joe West, man.
yeah, happy birthday, man. We'll come through and mess with you.
Yeah, I need one of them. So anyway, now that we've gotten
Yeah, all the pleasantries out the
pleasantries
way. What we
out of the
talking
way,
about?
well, I mean it's been a real crazy it's been like a crazy week, but like not too crazy. Like
Mm-hmm.
nothing really new has kind of taken place, but it's like a continuation of like many of the things that we've been talking about and things that have been happening, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, this was a big week for cryptocurrency because Coinbase went public, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, do you know what Coinbase is?
Yeah.
Okay. So, for those who don't know, Coinbase is a crypto exchange. So, it's the place where, similar to like the stock market, where you trade your money for shares in a company, um, it's an exchange where you trade your money in for uh, crypto money, right? So they
Mm-hmm.
went public the other day, and of course, everyone's jumping on the bandwagon because it's crypto, and crypto is doing well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just like Dogecoin, to the moon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so something about that though that stuck out to me was because you always hear the conversation about how like the rich get richer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you also hear it in like the news, in the media, how they talk about during the pandemic, um, millionaires or billionaires got X amount times richer.
Mm-hmm. Right. They made more money. Right.
Yeah, and so I think the way how people normally perceive things because of the way that they make money, like on a transactional basis,
Mm-hmm.
they just assume that like all that money came during that time. I mean, it did, but thinking that it happened at that specific point in time,
Mm-hmm.
right? And this IPO is a good example of why that happens.
Okay.
So in 2013, they had their Series A funding, like the Series A round of funding.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how much the shares were at that point in time?
Cents.
I think like 28 cents.
Mm,
So this is 2013. Okay, and
yeah.
I'm only using Coinbase as an example because there are tons of other companies and
Mm.
other instances. But 2013.
All right, we're not endorsing any investments.
No, absolutely not. So, um, so someone who was qualified to invest in the Series A round. I think there was one guy that they talked about, like his hundred and some odd $1,000 position is worth over $1 billion or something like that. I can't remember,
Mm-hmm.
but that was 8 years ago.
Yeah.
So so we're always looking for ways to um, find the fast money or what's going on right now. I got to flip this. I got to flip that. Where's the
Right.
play at? Right.
Mm-hmm.
The play was 8 years ago.
Right. Right. Right.
So
Yeah.
when you know what I mean. So when you're talking about wealth and just financial freedom, um, you have to position yourself to have something grow over time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because it didn't happen. There's like 5 or 6 rounds of funding. There's Series A, all the way to like Series E. Then there's like secondary trading, and then there's the IPO.
Mm-hmm.
So 28 cents, bro.
That's crazy.
28 cents to from that to I think the IPO. I think they opened at like 380 or something. I can't remember because I don't buy IPOs at all. But
Mm-hmm.
um, they opened at like 380, and at one point was up to like $450 a share.
Well, so that means it just happened slow.
Yeah, I mean over the course of 8 years. But to go back to what I was saying, the reason why, like the concept of the rich get richer, at least in the way that it's commonly used, is like a flawed. It's like it's a flawed explanation
Mm-hmm. Mean
because
like a
sure,
flawed system of why people are getting rich so quickly.
well, it's a flawed representation of it because you
Mm-hmm.
you you hear about somebody making money today, not realizing that seed was planted almost a decade ago.
Right. Of course.
And now you have to be in a position to be able to put money away for 10 years and not have to worry
Mm.
about it. That's a different conversation.
Yeah.
But to say like, oh, the rich get richer just because they're rich is like, no, you have to. I mean, that's part of it
Mm-hmm.
because you have access to these things. But
Yeah.
it's a change in your mentality from
Mm.
what can I get today? What do I need today? How can I flip this today to how can this grow
Right.
over
Right.
time? You know what I mean? And you have to really shift your perspective from a transactional basis to, like to a growth,
Mm-hmm.
like an expansion perspective.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You really have to expand your means.
How does someone do that? Go about doing that though? Like starting from, I made, I have $10,000. Like, what do I do with it?
Well, it comes with as you grow and progress, with money and your understanding of money, many things will become obvious to you because
Mm-hmm.
you'll have access to them, even through your banks. Like as your reserves build up and your net worth increases, then you tend to move up into dealing with other workers or other people in the
Mm-hmm.
bank. You don't
Yeah.
have regular people who work with you at the bank. You're now part of Chase Private or Wells Fargo
Right.
Private, or
Right. Right.
and those are the people who once you meet that criteria. But if you're a normal person, who trades their time for money, well, number one, the fastest way to increase your cash flow would be to increase the value of your time,
Mm-hmm.
right? So whether that be institutional, um, on the institutional level through like specialization, academically, going to get a degree or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
or just, if there's some type of certification, or just spending enough time to move up in the corporate ladder, you have to make your time
Mm-hmm.
more valuable so the employer can pay you more. And on the
Right.
flip side of that, you have to then go, you may not have a business that you can go and hire somebody, and hire an employee to go do something for you,
Mm-hmm.
but you can always employ your money,
Right. Right.
you know?
I think we might be talking about two things. There's your earned income, right,
Mhm.
and then your investment income. So when we talk about the rich gets richer, these are people who are invested early in something, right? So if I'm flipping, if I went to go get a bag and I got 10, 20,000, and I'm looking to double it or triple it, I think we have to ask what's the why behind that. Is your true why um, to invest for the long term and turn that 10,000 into, you know, 200,000 30 years later? Or is your true why to flip that so I can go, buy some Gucci slide-ins?
I mean, that depends on the person, because that might
I
be,
know.
for them, that might be success. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like the Gucci slides and the whip or whatever. That might be success for them.
because it's important for something to happen quickly when you want to flex. But when you don't want to flex, you don't mind if it happens from 5 to 10 years, 20 years from now. So I would wonder, uh, what the person who wants to invest or increase their money, what's the why behind it? What's the real why? I mean, it could be dual why. I do want to increase my earned income, on a job or in my business, and I do want to increase my investments, but they're two separate things.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of times they get merged into one
Well,
because
because
usually
yeah,
everyone's
because
money is in one place.
yeah, it's a people think people's a normal person's relationship with money is on a transactional basis. Like I do something, and then money comes after that.
Mm-hmm.
The
Right,
the average person doesn't have an understanding of, I can use my money to do something, and money continues to come after that.
right, right.
It always usually involves you actively doing something.
Mm-hmm.
You
And
know,
maybe
and
maybe
that,
that's
that's
maybe that's the thing that's hard to get around. If I sit my money somewhere, an investment from 8 years ago, you're not active.
no.
So, and then 8 years, 10 years later, it blows. Now you are the rich get richer.
But even prior to that, you have to there's many things you have to position yourself for in order to even be in that position.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like even now, like we might have the knowledge, we might be privy to pre-IPO investments, but that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that we can just go do it.
Right.
You know what I mean? You
Mm-hmm.
have to be accredited. You have to meet a certain criteria. So you
Mm-hmm.
have to position yourself, by doing the small things, by putting a set amount of money away or investing a set amount of money a
Mm-hmm.
certain way, and understanding their time frame. So
Mm-hmm.
that by the time you get to a certain point, even if you are still on the job somewhere, you have the ability to do that. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's for me, that's one of the main things with like the main things behind Rich by Monday.
Mm-hmm.
It's not so much like um it's not so much like a thing about making all this money or whatever. It's more
Mm-hmm.
so changing the way you think. Because once you change the way you think and act, you're already rich.
Right. Right.
It comes from the mindset. That's where it starts.
Mm-hmm.
So once you change the way you think and you have a different understanding of like the normal things that we're exposed to on an everyday basis, it it's very easy to see how one can become that
Yeah.
if you develop the mindset and adapt to those changes.
That's why I said, we starting the first ever get rich slow scam right here at Rich by Monday. I
Hundred
don't, I don't,
percent.
I don't know how well that's going to sell, but I mean, that's literally what it's about, the get rich slow scam. That's what I'm on.
Yeah.
So if you want to get rich slow, you know, tune in next week.
Come on down to death row. Yeah, I mean it's It's really simple. And that's why, you know what? That's why I really, really like, I really, really identified or related to like Nipsey Hussle.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can tell the way a person, we've already discussed how we profile people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you could tell by the way a person spends their money if they
Mm-hmm.
get it or not.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? So even with him being in the space that he's in, where everything is about waste your money, like literally burn your money,
Mm-hmm.
because the
Just to
only
show
way
you
to
have
have
it.
exactly,
It's to waste it. That's the only way to have it, is to waste it.
and then to see someone like him come from his situation, develop that mindset, and hold on to it and maintain it
Mm-hmm.
amidst all that.
Yeah. I remember when he first bought that commercial building, um, and then I believe he just got that Ferrari, but it was like 10 years later.
Yeah, but even the Ferrari
Right.
though, like even the Ferrari was a 458,
Mm-hmm.
right? So here's the thing that people don't again, a lot of people don't understand. You don't have a reason to understand though if you're not in that lane. But
Mm-hmm.
so the 458 Ferraris and the 430 Ferraris are actually going up in value.
Mm.
So
Okay.
Ferrari makes like they make certain model type, like most cars. They have like
Mm-hmm.
the coupe, they have the sedan, whatever, right? Um, and the 458 is part of a family of like two-door mid-engine vehicles,
Mm-hmm.
V8 vehicles. So the 458 and the one before it, which is the 430, both of those models are they've gone up in value recently.
Mm-hmm.
So to see him go back and buy a vehicle that isn't new,
Mm-hmm.
the car is not new, right? There's actually like three more models after the 458. It's the 488, the 488 Pista, and the F8 Tributo,
Mm.
right?
Okay.
So
I'm
there's
learning because this is not my lane. I just drive my old truck.
so it's those have actually gone up in value. I think the 430s were trading below 90,000, and now you could buy one for 120 grand.
Mm.
So you made 30 grand on the car. Same thing with the
Right.
458s. I think they began production in like 2011,
Mm-hmm.
and I think the 2011s go for like low 140s, maybe 120s, even depending on mileage.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you still see some in the 180s, even over 200 grand.
Mm.
So to see him go when again, there's two or three models after this car, to see him reach back,
Right.
buy
Right.
to buy something like that, you could tell for him it's about not only taste, but understanding, what his money is doing when he's not
Mm.
actively doing something.
Right. Right. So I mean that it's possible he could have seen value in that purchase, uh, because he probably knew the market.
Yeah,
Right.
you have to.
What would you say to people who should you know about the things you invest in? Should you have some type of knowledge base of what you invested in? Because you brought up coin. We talked about coin a little bit. We talked about Bitcoin on other episodes. Now luxury cars or foreign cars. Um, should you invest in things that you know about or that you're familiar with?
100%. You should be as knowledgeable as possible about everything that you spend money on. Now, of course, the stakes are higher with certain things. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? Like you're going to care more about how much you spend like on a car versus how much you spend on a banana,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
naturally. But you should definitely try and just be as knowledgeable as possible. I mean, to just do something without that knowledge, you'll never be able to see the like you won't know the end game. So like right now the big thing is a Dogecoin or Dogecoin, whatever it
Mm-hmm.
is. Um,
Doggy, could be doggy.
something, yeah, I don't know. The guy who made it, he made it as a joke,
Yeah.
right? Because
So
he,
that's the meme, right?
mhm,
It was a dog. Okay.
yeah, he made it as a joke. Now
Mm.
goes to show you how smart he is to just make something like that as a
Mm-hmm.
joke. Because the only people who find that funny are people who are as smart as him. But
Right. It's like, bro, you coded all this for a joke.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean that's the big thing right now, and it's made a lot of people a lot of money, right? And that's fine. Um, people have asked me about it, um, and I don't say that. I never tell someone. First of all, I really don't tell anybody to get into anything specifically, because I'm not trying to be the one you blame. But
Mm-hmm.
um, it has momentum. It's a solid trade. The thing is, though, if you don't know what you're doing, how do you know what the end looks like?
Mm. So you're talking about more like where's your exit point?
Yeah,
Or are you just gonna just stay in until it blows up one direction or the other?
yeah, and then well, what's likely going to happen is it's going to fall apart, and then
Mm-hmm.
then it becomes, oh, the game is rigged,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
It's
the
like,
same is
no, you didn't learn the game.
this is also something that you hear a lot, is that the game is rigged, but now it's Dogecoin to the moon.
Yeah. See, I'm not interested in anything I'm not knowledgeable of, you know? Um, and it just takes so much time to really go into things. I'm not going down rabbit holes I don't have no business going down. It's
Yeah,
not for me, you know?
that well, and because of that, like this, I also tell people, like, developing the discipline means you'll be wrong more than you're right, but when you're right, you'll be really right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You'll be right when it counts. Because to say, now, full disclosure, I have some Dogecoin or whatever. I bought some in 2013. I have no idea where it is. Okay.
you, you'd be speaking to a billionaire right now.
Yeah, I definitely. You know what I'm saying? But I have no clue how much I have. I don't know how much I have. I mean, given the price of what it was back in 2000 and whatever, 2013, 14, I might have thousands of coins. I don't know. But I don't know where it is. So it doesn't matter. Uh, but it's even something like that, man, is just, it's hard to tell somebody otherwise when it's working the way it's working. And
Mhm.
if I were to say, okay, Dogecoin's market cap is $50 billion, and I think eBay's market cap is like $48 billion. So you're telling me Dogecoin is worth more than eBay
Right. No.
and Twitter and Spotify and Pinterest?
Right.
So
Mm,
like that's how I'm going to think about it, just because we have a different understanding of certain things, right?
mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean it's not an opportunity to make money. It's the fact that you know certain things that keeps you away from making money
Mm-hmm.
in that
Mm-hmm.
sense. So I'm gonna be wrong in that sense. Because if someone comes to me and says buy Dogecoin at 5 cents, I'm gonna say hell no.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then it goes to
So
40 cents.
yeah, I mean, you have to just have certain discipline. Focus on your own investments. Focus in your lane, and like you said, be okay with being wrong. You know.
It's just like I told you earlier, there's like a ketchup package shortage,
Yeah.
and
I
they're
read
selling
that.
on eBay for $11.
Yeah. That's I have ketchup packages.
Yeah. So it's things like, okay, I'm not in that game. So it
Yeah.
doesn't.
Yeah. I'm not gonna set up my cameras and take pictures of all my ketchup packages in my house and post them on eBay. Just for the bag. I'm just like I'm gonna miss that bag. I'm gonna miss it. That's all bags aren't for everybody.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. So to go back to your question though, should you invest in something you don't fully understand? I would always say it depends.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say, normally I'd say no, but it really depends, because if you're someone who's just getting acclimated with everything, you're not gonna know better anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So um, you might make some money. That might be the spark to get you into, you
Mm-hmm.
know, to understanding, everything
Yeah,
else.
it was spark should work two ways, right? One spark can can take you on. You can make some money on your first investment, and I think it could set you in the wrong direction because now you
Mm.
think that all investments could be that easy.
Mm-hmm.
The other
Mm-hmm.
route could be that investment going bad, and you lose your bearings about now you mad at the market. It's all rigged. So I think you have to have some type of discernment and just you start with education first. If you just like slightly educated on something, I think your likelihood of staying in investments is going to be more likely, rather you
Well,
up or down.
so do you think that the the reason why it's difficult for people to um, put the time in and understand, like, this is a long game? Do
Mm-hmm.
you think it's difficult to do that because they think on a transactional basis?
100%, 100%. You kind of have to like split your brain in half, and like we talk about earned income. I go to work and I make this amount of money, right? Or I close this sale, I make this amount of money, right? That's transactional. And then you have to use another side of your brain that says, these are my investments, right? And pick some type of risk tolerance for your investments. So rather it's, whatever your portfolio is, if it's between 1% and 5%, wherever that number is, stick to that. Stick
Mm-hmm.
to that. So if you're able to is it differentiate differentiate differentiate
What?
start
What was that?
scatting start scatting okay, if you can know the difference, feel like Porky Pig.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can know the difference between your earned income and your investments and make them separate in your head, I think you'll be doing all right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how I would do it.
I
That's
mean,
how I
you
do
have
it.
to. Yeah, you. There has to be some sort of a method to the madness.
Like
If
even with
if
stocks,
mm-hmm.
now that I'm more of an active trader, um, I focus. Well, I have like a certain amount that I'm going to trade, right? And right now, since I'm new, that amount is not my money at all. I do a lot of paper trade,
Mm-hmm.
in the stock market because I don't feel like I have enough education or time in the market, right? So if I was first starting real estate and I can have a way to buy real estate without actually buying real estate and having that same time in the market, experiencing certain losses without losing actual money, I think I'll be much further because I had some real losses in the beginning just by going out there and doing it
Mm-hmm.
because you had to. There wasn't no real estate game. You know, But if it was, I would play that. I would do that before I actually put my real money on the line.
Well, I mean, I think for some people, it's when you have nothing to lose, it doesn't matter.
Right, right.
You know what I mean? It's only when you have something to lose, then you can afford to be conservative. There's a lot of people who can't afford that. So
Yeah. So you say
everything that pops up has to be the thing.
it's like just putting it all in the
Yeah,
crap.
every single time. Every single Dogecoin, AMC,
Yeah,
BlackBerry, GameStop, everything has
yeah,
to work because we need it to work.
yeah. I mean, that's tough too. That's tough too. I mean, I don't know what to say to that. If you have if you have limited funds, if you have limited funds, I wouldn't focus on investing. Shouldn't even be like your first thought. I'm a super conservative guy, right? So for me, it would be uh, my income goes to, of course, your recurring bills,
Hmm.
um, and then it goes to servicing debt, right, or paying debt down. And if I can't do those things without having additional money to invest, it's not time to invest. So I
Yeah, I
want to
mean,
say that too.
yeah, that's kind of like what we talked about at the beginning was like you have to be in a position to make your time more valuable.
Right.
Like I think even something that simple would make more sense to people if they understood the end game.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of people who feel like they can't participate. Like
Yeah.
they're excluded from these activities. And the reality is no, you're not.
Yeah.
You know, and I think if
Well,
they
it's
understood that, it would be easier for them to make those sacrifices on the front end.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's this is not for you, but it will be once you get your ducks in a row.
Yeah.
So I think that's important too. Um, you know, if you come to me and say I got 25,000, 30,000, 40,000 to invest, and you know all your bills are past due, I guess it's not time to invest.
Well, now
It's
we know
time.
why you got 25,000.
I didn't pay nobody for 3 years, so I could flip this bag. Right. Yeah.
I mean,
So
it's possible though. I want to make sure like that gets communicated. Like it's all
yeah.
possible. Like you have to do whatever you can to better your situation. And
Mm-hmm.
if the main source of your money is your time, make your time more valuable.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, but I think people lack the motivation to do so because they feel like everything else is out of reach. You know what I mean? And that's just not the case. Like there are things you can do, even starting from the position you're in, to help slowly, you know, build up that reserve or that investment capital or that whatever it may be.
Or the time learning. You know, let's break it down. Right. If we have 24 hours in a day, and you're using 8 to sleep, 8 at work,
Mm-hmm.
and you have additional 8 hours, right? You actually I should subtract 2 more hours if you if you're commuting.
Mm-hmm.
So once you get home, like you have 6 hours to do something for yourself, and you have to be like really stingy with those hours. So let's say you're using a few hours with the family, 2 hours with the family, and we're all people, normal people. So okay, you use an hour to watch your favorite show.
Mm-hmm.
So you got three hours to do anything that's going to make you more valuable, right? Rather in your job, maybe it's going to school to get additional degree, or rather it's looking at YouTube, or looking at one of your favorite Rich by Monday podcast guests, you know, and learning some additional information. So that's not a lot of time. So you have 2 to 3 hours to better yourself, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
think I think that reality can be really sobering and can get people down. But the reality is, if that hour a day, every day, a 7 hour week, that's 7 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
So your time is going to compound over time. So if you get stuck in, I don't have time for it. Well, yeah, you're not going to be able to learn, 100 hours, 200 hours worth of information to now, be ready to invest by next week. It's like, no, it might take you 6 months, 8 months, a year before you even do anything. But within that time, go in and start paying your bills, go to work, get some overtime in, pay your bills down, get caught up, pay some debt down to where now you don't have that pressure of everyday living, and you can free up some money to now invest smart since you've been
Mm-hmm.
learning 6 months to a year. Now you know what to do instead of coming to somebody like us in a frenzy saying, "Hey, I came up on 5,000, 10,000. What did I do with it?" Well, you go sit down somewhere. The best that's the best advice,
Well, because what we're gonna tell them, it may not fit like what they desire.
Yeah.
If you came up on that money really quickly and you're asking me what to do, and then I tell you to, make certain types of investments or just be conservative with the amount that you're going to go out and be risky with, which is, I guess, a oxymoron.
Mm-hmm.
But you might not like it, and you're
Mm-hmm.
going to go with the quick play. And I have no problem showing people like the fast money. right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because there's always opportunities to make money in anything, but the people who constantly benefit from that are the ones who understand that there's a time and a place for it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like to me, one of the worst things you can do is have success, like doing something you know nothing about.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you're ignorant.
Yeah,
Your ignorance
because
should just
then
take over.
yeah, because then you think it's always like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And you'll just keep expecting it to happen that way,
Mm-hmm.
right? And when it doesn't, like you get into denial. It's like, oh well, you know, I'll figure it out. And the next thing you know, you're broke.
Yeah. It's the market's fault.
Hmm.
Uh,
So you know,
So,
I do think it can be sobering, but you have to put that time in, like a week, you know, even a month, even if you put 2 hours a day towards, you know, towards whatever that may be for you, um, a month, you know, a month today in today's time could probably save you 6 months to a year on the back end of your life.
mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Just from the accumulated hours you putting into learning, you know, different things. Because once you understand how these things work, it becomes a lot easier to like to dedicate the funds to it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it becomes a lot easier to not do something else and put the money over here.
Mm. And more comfortable with actually doing
Yeah,
that and not being scared.
exactly. Like
And then you don't have to like consult someone else, you know,
exactly.
or you can still consult someone else, but since you accumulated some type of knowledge on your own, now you have something to kind of to weigh that knowledge or that knowledge from that professional with, you know, because there's a lot of information going on, you know, going across the internet of what you should do.
Hmm.
And if you have some type of knowledge base, uh, you know, you can have some discernment of what's real and what's not. I think
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
the huge issue right now on the internet because anybody can put something on the internet and
yeah.
say invest in X, Y, and Z. And if you don't have a certain type of knowledge base and you just follow in trends, you know, it's the best way to get burnt.
I just seen something today with somebody said it was a meme. I have no clue where it came from, but it was a
Mm-hmm.
meme. And it said how to buy real estate in your business name or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like establish a LLC, get some business credit, like all these like the whole list of um like the guru course, like credit, blah
Yeah.
blah blah. So it was the whole list of that. And the reality is, if you try to get a loan, this is your first property, your first income property, and or just
Mm-hmm.
period, your first property. The bank's not going to lend your money. I mean, your business any money.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to
No.
need a personal guarantor. So look up the word personal guarantor
Mm-hmm.
because all these guys selling you business credit ideas and all that kind of stuff, unless they're talking about buying the property cash with the credit you have, right? You took that credit and you somehow amassed hundreds of thousands of dollars in business credit. If you want to remove that credit from those cards and go buy property cash, you can do that. But just because you got a business and you try to go get a loan from the bank in your business name, they're going to tell you, relax.
Yeah. Um, I don't know how anyone's building business credit and not using their personal credit to jumpstart it.
That's also another
So
thing. But you know,
I
hey, what
don't
do
I
we
don't
know?
know. I don't know how you do that. Like your LLC is not a person. Again,
No,
you
that
don't want a personal guarantee.
the LLC is only to separate business activities from personal activities, right? So there is no there's no tax benefits to actually owning an LLC. And what I mean by that is just because you have an LLC doesn't necessarily mean you're taxed differently.
Mm-hmm.
So the IRS, if you don't have enough business or enough activity, the IRS can basically they can call your company worthless and you no longer get those benefits. So I have an LLC, right? So when you go to file your taxes, you can choose to be taxed as an S corp or taxed as a sole proprietorship,
Mm-hmm.
right? So really, if you wanted tax benefits, just go get an S corp.
Yeah.
Now this
I
is
think
not
I think people don't like to do minutes and stuff. I think that's why
this
they
is
don't do escorts.
maybe that might be a thing, but the IRS can come back and just say, whatever, when you submit your tax returns,
They'd be like, all right.
and there's no benefits to having an LLC. So there's very specific reasons to owning an LLC, which is why when that conversation comes up, I always tell people to make sure they go talk to a lawyer. So yeah, they charge you if this is your first time filing an LLC, yes, they're going to charge you a consultation fee, but they usually roll that fee into like the cost of filing all the paperwork. But at least you were able to get an understanding of what you need specifically based on your business, and not just running around here with an LLC.
Yeah.
You don't even need it. You
Mm-hmm.
might not even need that. You might not ever use it, to be
Yep.
honest. You know what I'm saying? But you got it,
Yep.
because just get it. The guys will tell you just to get it, and everything will be all right.
Yeah.
But
It take
nobody's paying that $800 a year bill, but you.
yeah, minimum. Yeah, I don't know how we got on that.
I don't know either, but it's the truth. It's the truth, man. Like it's
Right.
just that you were just talking about misinformation,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So I think just going back to what we are talking about again, like the biggest thing is, if you're someone who doesn't really see the light at the end of the tunnel, or just thinking you can't participate, or it's going to take too long, um, that's not necessarily true. If you put the work in, that you have the time throughout the day or whenever, even if it's just on the weekend, you have the time to put towards the end goal of
Mm-hmm.
getting involved and learning more. All of this comes from education, self-education.
Yeah.
It's it's not just the rich get richer, it's the smart get richer,
Mm-hmm.
the educated get richer. And not academically when I say smart, but just people who continuously learn about how things work, right? Because then they learn how to solve problems with their money, and then the
Mm-hmm.
money in turn solves problems for them,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the more you learn, the more educated you become, and that's worth more than you not knowing nothing and having a bunch of money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because then you'll know, like, the information will cut the time frame in half. So if you got to dedicate 2 years, 3 years, even 5 years to just educating yourself before you become a full-time participant in the markets, or even just in business in general, like that 5 years you took to learn that will probably save you 20 or 30 years on the back end.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's going to be people who are, like, I'll use us as an example. We got started in real estate when we were 18 and 19 years old, 17 and 18 years old, actually, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you got licensed right out of high school,
Yeah, I was 19.
19. So think about it. When we first started our career, the people around us were in their 50s,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 50s and 60s.
right? So we saw them go through certain things in their 50s while we were 19. They were our peers technically.
Mm-hmm.
So think about it. This is now, 14, 15 years later. These people are 70 something years old. Now we're in our 30s, early 30s, but we've seen it before, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's the not knowing. We've seen what not knowing does to somebody in their 50s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
When these are people who have been working their entire life, they've had their savings, they had their 401ks, and they went out here and just did something because it's popping right now, was working.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got to see the aftermath of that and how they lived on the back end. And it wasn't pretty. Like, it's not pretty when you're 50 and 60 years old.
Yeah. When you don't have a lot of time. I remember even back then it was like it kept saying, man, these young brothers right here, they 19 years old. It's like everybody's like, you got time to mess up and start all over. And I was like, well, I'm not gonna mess up. We're not gonna mess up.
Yeah.
We did,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah,
and had
absolutely.
and had the time to start over. So It's crazy. We're actually still young in the game. I mean, the average person, you know, in the real estate game, as a realtor or broker, are 55 years old.
Mm-hmm.
55 years old. The average person who works in real estate, last time I checked, was 55 years old, a woman and white. We're
Mm-hmm.
none of those. So we're like,
Nope.
we're anomalies, right? So I think we have to just be careful with trying to rush things too quickly. Um, I think that's what we're almost trying to say. Um, so if you click the link in our bio and if you make a consultation appointment, we're gonna basically tell you to sit down
I
for a
mean,
while.
it really comes down to like one of our earlier episodes when we were talking about if you tell the truth, are you hating?
Hmm.
So when all this is going on and everybody's making money,
Yeah, that was
and you,
episode 2. If anybody wants to go back to that.
yeah. So all this is going on, everybody's making money, and then here you come and say, well, you should probably look into, like that's cool, but you should probably look into this and that. And it's like,
Hmm.
man, you come off as the hater.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because you're trying to steer them away from what's popular or what's
Hmm.
what's working in
Hmm.
the moment. And and
Yeah.
I don't want to I don't care about somebody calling me a hater because I know I'm not a hater.
Hmm.
But I don't want to welcome those conversations, which is why I normally just don't talk to people.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's easier just to say, look, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
This is what I've seen. It doesn't work. This is what I've experienced. It works, and leave you up to make the rest of the decision. A smart decision. You know.
So if you missed out on Dogecoin, don't feel bad. It's okay. Like there's
Mhm.
I'm almost positive it'll continue to do what it's doing, because people want it to do that. But if you missed out on it or you don't understand it, um, don't worry about it because the back end of that is extremely ugly.
Yeah. So yeah, take your time to learn. If you're gonna get into anything like that, just take your time to learn.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
what
because
else was on it?
that's gonna be that's gonna be gross. I don't even want to. I don't even want to
Mhm.
think about how, like people are gonna be real upset. You know what I mean? Because it happens all the time. Like it's just something that it's a natural occurrence. But I mean, everything is
Mhm.
popping right now. Like that's you know a rising tide lifts all ships. Even
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
the watch game is crazy right now. Like it's ridiculous. Like I got
Mm.
I got offered. I don't know why I get offered these types of deals because I don't have that kind of money. But
Mhm.
I got, I guess it's like the bad side of just knowing what the market is.
Mhm.
So every year we go to the Concourse de Elegance in Beverly Hills. It's like a car show, and they have like a competition. All the big dealers come out and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
But it's on Rodeo Drive, right? So, and of course on Rodeo they have all the shops, all the stores and everything. And the guys who are there are usually some pretty wealthy guys,
Mhm.
right? Um, and I was at the Rolex store. Naturally, I'm at the AD,
Mhm.
and I'm talking to someone in there, and there was a guy in there who was actually trying to buy. He was picking up another piece. He picked up another piece next door. Um, I can't. I think the Paddock stores next door. I can't remember, but he was picking up a piece next door, and he just walked in and he was talking to the salesperson there about another piece that he was looking to get, and he was actually wearing a platinum Daytona. Now the
Mhm.
Rolex Daytona, right, is like the it's like the Air Jordan 1 of Rolex
Mhm.
in a way. It's not
Okay.
the first shoe that it's not the first piece that they made, but it's like the most
Like the
in
classic.
terms of heritage. Yeah, it's like the most classic piece they make.
Mhm.
That everyone is, it's world renowned. They were actually trying to make that the watch for the moon landing, but Omega got it
Mm.
with the
Okay.
Speedmaster,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Um,
I like
so
that one.
anyway, yeah. So he's wearing a platinum Daytona, and I don't even remember how much they retail for. It's a lot. But he offered it to me for like, I want to say it was less than 90,000. Right. If I remember correctly.
And this is a deal.
Well, yeah. So it was pretty much because you can't, with Rolex, you can't buy new watches. Like you can't buy sports models from the store. If you walk into a Rolex AD right now, like the shelves are pretty much bare. Like you just can't. If you're not on the list or you don't have a relationship with the broker, with the dealer, you're not getting a watch. Like, period.
That's ridiculous. If I show up and I don't get a watch, I'm gonna be mad.
Like, you can't get a watch. Not one that not one that you would want.
Like I'm gonna roll up.
Yeah,
I'm not rolling up.
They'll sell you. They'll sell you like some like they'll sell you the stuff you don't want. Just so you can build the relationship.
Good luck selling me anything.
Exactly. So anyway, he offered me that for like, I don't know, 80, I think it was like 85 or something. And and I'm talking to him like, like this, yeah, all right, yeah, that's a good deal. I got to talk to the wife, all that kind of stuff, right?
That's like a 5 series in your arm.
Is no more than that. So anyway, to fast forward, I brought that up because I just saw a dealer buy one, who's a guy who's like a secondary dealer. I just saw him buy one for 115,000, and he can sell it for around 120 to 130.
That's crazy.
That was 2 years ago.
So, is there any watch brokers in the game? Is that the thing?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. But it's gotten more popular over the course of like, I don't know, the last 4 years maybe. Like I remember going to David Lee's shop, and he tried to sell me he had it in the store. He had a Yachtmaster 2, a stainless Yachtmaster 2. But now you won't find that in the store.
So what's the secondary market like? Who owns that? Is it like certain players who run that?
Well, the people who have connections with people who have watches. So if you're a guy who buys watches, like you have the relationship, you've been buying watches for 30, 40 years or whatever, and your grandfather and your dad or whoever, you have that relationship, you sell to the secondary market or to the wholesale brokers. Okay. And those guys sell to people like you and me.
Rich get richer.
So if I want a stainless sports model Rolex, I gotta buy it from someone else. I can't buy it from Rolex. It'd be impossible. It'd be almost impossible to get one.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
So the watch will come out, retail will be $9,000. It'll sell secondary for 16.
Damn.
Yeah. So I mean, if you're someone who has the relationship and you've got, you've got 30 stainless Batman GMTs, you can sell all of them with a $7,000 markup.
So that's a certain legacy that you can't be a part of unless you're already a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredibly difficult to get, and this is all the same as like buying Jordans and all the other stuff that we do, but these are treated as commodities, and now they're extremely popular because people have the money to pay for it, but the people who really benefit from it are the ones who have been doing it for 10, 20, 30 years.
Yeah, they further up the chain.
Yeah, now they've got watches that, they have watches or they have access to the watches that'll net them $40,000 and $50,000 premiums. Like Rolex just came out with the gold Daytona, gold green dial Daytona. And I mean, that's I think they retail for like 40 grand or something like that, 35, 40 grand. And I just seen somebody list one for 92,000. Like it just came out. They're sold out though, because you can't get one. You can't go to the store and get one. Right. So the game is, if I buy it, will it hold its value, or how much money will I lose? So if I'm wearing this watch, or if I have this watch for 3 years, if I lose $3,000 over the course of 3 years, that's a very minimal loss.
Yeah, these are very wealthy individuals in this game.
Yes and no, because a lot of people are on credit, right? So
I can get one on credit.
and they're
Let's do
trading,
that.
you know.
Which one I need to buy?
It's you're trading watches, you're trading up. So if I get a watch at this rate, I could trade up, make $2,000 here, get into another one, just like in real estate, right? I buy a property, increase the rents, 1031 exchange into another building. Same thing, increase the rents, increase my equity, 1031 into another building. It's the same process. It's just on your wrist.
Yeah, I don't know if that's for me. I don't know if that's for me.
I know people listening gonna be like, look at these elitists.
I feel so weird dropping 16,000 on something, hoping that I take a minimal loss, hoping I get a gain. But yet again, I think that just goes back to like,
but that's hoping. Like that's that's gambling at that point. That's speculation. If you know what you're buying and you understand what you're buying, it's very likely. Yeah, it's especially if you like it. It's like if I like this piece and it costs 16 grand, that's just what it costs to have something I like. Right. But if you're buying it with the hopes of, it costs 16 grand, it'll go up to 30 one day. No. And what's funny about that is the watch I brought up in particular that we're talking about, long story short, Rolex basically reissued the watch. Like, so they put the watch out a couple years ago, and then they discontinued it, meaning it's no longer in production. And then the other day they just reissued it.
They're just gonna dilute the market.
Yeah.
Man, I know y'all have the exclusive shit, but here's some more of that shit you like.
Yeah. So I mean, it's all a game. All this is a game, right? And then once the speculation comes in, when the markets are liquid enough, then that's when you got to pay attention to that. So I mean, it's that's just how the world is right now. That's why we have Dogecoin, because everyone is looking for returns.
You got to pick your game, folks. Pick the game you want to be in. I don't know if I like anything that much to drop tens of $1,000s on it.
I like a few things.
I'm trying to think. I can't think.
But it's not, because you can't like, because me and Vita will go back and forth on this sometimes. And then when I took her to the Rolex store, and I put a $30,000 gold date just on her wrist, he's like, oh, okay, this is nice. Like, so it's just something you have to experience. Now, I'm not saying you have to be a watch nerd or anything like that, but it definitely is something you have to like kind of experience and get acclimated, to.
Yeah, I'm a sidestep that experience for now. It's like having somebody try crack for the first time. I know you're gonna like it. keep chasing that same high. Some drugs you don't want to try. But it's funny because I think that's why we differ in some ways. I'll just keep wearing my same stuff over and over. That's why I hate taking Instagram pictures, because I'm gonna have the same outfit on.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna just turn it black and white, just make it a little different.
Flip the shirt inside out.
That's a good way to get your tag ripped off.
Oh man.
If it wasn't a pro club, if somebody rip your tag off, if it wasn't a pro club. Kids are childish.
Kids are childish. Think so?
Kids are childish.
So anyway, speaking of real estate, right? Something happened over the course of the week, or some news came out, I should say. that kind of sent the internets in a frenzy.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to get your opinion on it. So if you didn't know, right? If you didn't know already, the founder of BLM, or one of the founders, I don't know how many exactly, but
Mm-hmm.
recently has been buying like real estate in Los Angeles. And we all know real estate in LA is well over $1 million. So, um, how do you feel about someone who, in a position of how should I say, like a charitable position, or a philanthropic position,
Mm-hmm.
being seen buying things or spending money on things like for capitalistic purposes or
Mm.
intentions?
It doesn't translate well to the public, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then you want to say, well, you don't know where they get their money from,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's kind of hard to, they're not a public company. You can't just pull up the books and see where it's coming from. Well, I don't know. Actually, if you're a nonprofit, is that public? You can see their public books.
I mean, I don't know. I've never looked. I mean, Vita's had a
Right.
nonprofit. I never
Uh,
looked.
I'm gonna look that up.
But you belong, when you're a nonprofit, you belong to the government.
Yeah, that stuff should be available on their website, but I don't know. Like, I don't think it translates well to the public. Um, but then again, you don't know where the money comes from, and that's why I don't want to be part of any philanthropic company, or I don't want to be in politics, because I don't want people asking why I got own a new Daytona. You know, it's like, mind your business. I made this somewhere else. People always think you're stealing when you're in public service. Um, so yeah, it's tough. That's
Well,
that's
I think the reason why it doesn't translate is because they're looking for solutions. Like
mm-hmm,
the people they serve want solutions,
mm-hmm.
but the solution isn't like something that just happens. It's an ongoing problem, so the solution is going to take you know it's going to take decades.
Yeah, you gotta be willing to
Yeah.
do the work, even when it's not in the media. Um, it's a continuous thing. You know,
So when they see you going out and buying $1 million house, they're like, oh, well, that house could have went to, or that money could have went to helping.
is that what the conversation is?
Um, I mean, yeah, that's what it's
Well,
about.
it's like, okay, if and I'm not saying this is them, but if you present yourself as Jesus, right, and you just want to, right, you want to help the poor, help the needy, help the sick, right, and your life mission is whatever money or gifts flow through you, you want to give back to other people, and if that's your code, and that's your mission statement, then that's what it should be. There's no way I want to see Jesus in a multi-million-dollar house.
But
No way.
okay, but like,
If
why
that
not? Like he okay,
not if you say that's your mission, that's not the mission. That can't all of a sudden just be the mission.
no,
Because
I agree.
now you're
I agree.
prosperity preaching.
I
So
agree with you. But what I'm saying is, if anybody needed to be in a $1 million house, wouldn't it be Jesus?
see, that's what prosperity preachers preach. you
Just
know
asking a
why
question.
why I can't have a G5? Why can't a man of
Jesus
God
can't
be?
have a jet.
Why he don't need to? If he can walk on water, he can fly. So
Yeah, I guess so.
I'm
It's not a
all
jet
for.
though.
It's not a G5, but that's been a thing too. Um, preachers want to be in G5s and yachts and all kind of stuff. That's the argument. Why shouldn't a man of God, person of God, have nice things, luxury things? And I don't know. I think if you're in service of people, um, you're open for those people to question you if you're in that business.
I mean, I would
You know.
agree. I would agree. And I used to care about that kind of stuff. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it used to bother me to see, because there was a very well-known pastor in our area that used to drive around in a Phantom, like a Rolls Royce
Right.
Phantom,
Mm-hmm.
and I've a long time ago I went to that church with someone we know, and I remember being there, and it was
Mm-hmm.
they were passing around the collection plate for pastor's birthday,
Mm-hmm.
and they were asking for
Right.
$1,000,
Mm.
and I was like, well, why would I give this man $1,000? Like, I don't know him. Why would I give him $1,000? And then when I
Mm-hmm.
left, I seen him get into his Phantom,
Right.
um, and so I used to care about that. Like, that's not right. Blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
You hear all the stories about like Joel Osteen, his huge church and all
Mm-hmm.
that down in
At
Texas,
Houston. Yeah.
something like that.
That where the tsunami happened, and
Yeah,
they it came out that he wasn't trying to let people in the church or something.
yeah.
That shelter.
So
Yeah, I remember that.
I don't care about that no more. You know why? Because the people who the people who fund that for them don't care about it. So why should you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I care up to the point where I'm gonna say what I feel, and then I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm
Well,
not gonna
yeah.
go. I'm not gonna go picketing outside his house.
Nah,
I
nah,
don't. I
nah,
don't. I don't care that much. But
nah.
I do believe if you're in service of people, there's certain things that come with that, and um, it's most of it's going to be people questioning what you do, which is why I try not to be in public service.
But I
But
mean,
it's
if
important
if
to be
you
involved.
if you if you're in that business though, even if you have a nonprofit, like nonprofits have to make money. They
Mm-hmm.
have employees, they have to pay the employees.
Right.
So if even if it's only a percentage, if they raise say 30, 40, 50 million dollars,
Mm-hmm.
and employee compensation is like, you know, 5 to 10% of the amount that they raise, that's still a lot of money.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I mean, churches, large churches have bills. There's no doubt about that. No doubt
And they're
about that.
tax exempt.
Yeah. That's the real estate too. You know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like a lot of Catholic church, they got premium real estate,
Mm-hmm.
like all in New York, all over the place. Yeah, that's a whole nother thing. They've been trying to tax them for a while. I don't see that going through.
I think if the church is over a certain size, it should definitely be taxed, because
Yeah.
you're taking up a lot of area in, like, in a city,
Mm-hmm.
and a city's like number one source of income is property tax.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So if you've got acres of real estate that's not being taxed, there's a lot of money you're missing out on. I'd
Yeah.
rather them tax them than try and change the laws to reassess everybody's properties
he
market value. Like, that makes
said,
no sense.
"It's like I'm for taxing other people."
I'm gonna do that the next time. Look, the next time we go, I'm gonna write a letter. That's what I'm gonna do. Let me write that down. I'm
That's
gonna
how
write
you
a
got to
letter.
be involved. That's the best way to be involved.
For real,
Um,
man. Because these man, look, they do things, man. That's like, did you read on the last election? There was a bill called I don't remember what proposition it was, but
mhm.
it was a bill called like the California, um it was like education and playground fund or something. It was something
Mhm.
crazy, right?
Did it require like a bond, like extra bonds?
No,
So
what it was, that was the bill to reassess your property.
oh, okay, yeah,
But
no,
they disguised it under this bill will give our schools
yeah, they
more
always do
money
that. More
by
playgrounds. They better
by
go. They better go flip on the grass like we did. We did backflips on grass. That was
go
our
drink out
playground.
the go drink out the hose.
Right. We drank out the hose. Did backflips on the grass and off of walls and stuff. That was our playground.
That's how they disguise it, though, by saying, these people,
Yeah, they do that
these
a lot.
these landlords have been not paying taxes
Hmm.
for so many years. If we tax all of them at market rate, then the schools can have new books.
Yeah, not happening. I think the the distribution of funds is where everything goes crazy.
Of course.
That's where it goes crazy. Like whoever's keeping the books in the governments, these different governments in different cities, it's not working.
But they'll be able to do that forever because nobody shows up.
No.
I've literally heard this from city council's like mouth over here in
Mm-hmm.
Inglewood. I've heard them say renters don't vote.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like they're
You got
not
to be
even
involved.
they don't even counter vote because the only time they show up is if they're giving away free rent.
Mm-hmm.
If that's the only time every city council meeting I've gone to, the only time it's been full is if it was about rent control.
Mm-hmm.
And they have no clue what rent control is about, but they don't want nobody to raise the rent. That's what they think rent control is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's the only time that the meetings have been full.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to show up. You have to show up. You have to be involved. Um, but I also get that it's hard for people to show up. I mean, a lot of those meetings started like 5:30. I think
Mm-hmm.
our city council was trying to pass um I guess it's not a law, but they were trying to make it just 5:30, I think, to 6:30, just trying to push it back. And that's because one of the council persons um had a regular job, 9 to 5 job, and she's like, for me to get off work and get here, like it takes time.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, why nobody thought about that at the beginning? Because a lot of people on the council, they don't have jobs. These are retired people,
Yeah,
or
the city
they're
pays
business
for them.
owners, or they get sometimes they get paid nothing or very little. But um, yeah, so they don't care what time the meeting starts. They just show up. So that should be a thing. Let's change the time so where someone can actually get there on time and be involved in a meeting. And let's shorten the work week while we at it. So people so people could be more involved, you know. People be tired after work. I understand you want to get home and just sit on the couch and just unwind and watch a show or play a game or listen to your favorite Rich by Monday podcast, but you know, they they work folks too hard, and I think that's the plan. Work people hard enough to where they don't have time to fight back. They don't have time to go to the city council. They don't have
You
time to
have to
care.
though. I'm glad you said that because it's important to understand that you have to fight back.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like in order to win a war, you have to understand both sides. And
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people don't understand that you're at war. Like
Yeah.
even our government, like even at the federal level, right, or nationally, it's a war between public and private. That's all everything is,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if as long as you continue to avoid showing up, then things will continue to go the way that they do.
Yep.
Like you have to get involved on some level.
Yeah, I think that's the plan. Keep us tired, keep us down, so you don't have time or the energy to fight back. Um, Talking about that, how you feel about um, now? There's like a lot of racism back in the news again. If you remember 2020 and was that the summer? Like it was really cracking. It was hot,
Hmm.
right? There was a lot of people getting killed. Um, why is it that what happened between then and now? Because now it's back in the news. So am I to believe that nothing happened in between that time and this time?
Like in what context? You mean? Oh, you mean in terms of?
And in terms of the media pushing up, because now it's bubbling. It's bubbling up everything. It's showing folks getting killed by the police again, assaulted, uh, pepper sprayed, which is all wrong, right? All
Mhm.
wrong, absolutely ridiculous. And it makes you angry. It makes you mad. Uh, but why is it that those things aren't pushed to the forefront only at certain times? Do you think it is something behind that? Or is it just that these things are happening in real time and now they're brought to our attention?
Well, that they've been happening for the since the beginning of our nation.
100%. Yeah.
um, I mean, at the time there was definitely incentive because it was, it was an election year.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yeah.
there were other things at play, and there was a reason why they needed to paint a narrative to make sure somebody didn't get reelected.
Mm-hmm.
And he was largely to blame
Yeah.
for
Oh
that.
yeah. I
You know
mean,
what I mean?
definitely stoked a lot of people and got people on.
I mean, he incited a riot on a
Yeah.
on government like property.
Against the government.
Um,
I like how they call it insurrection. I'm like, why don't we just use the names like the terms we have,
I've been
like
saying that.
like
Like they
attack,
always try to come up with something
uh,
new. Like, no, this was a riot.
right,
It was a riot, and
insurrection, siege. I'm like, what are
it's
you using
not
all these?
funny.
Like,
It's
come
not
on.
funny that someone actually. It's not funny that someone actually died, but
A few
um,
people died. I think like
well,
five people.
I'm talking about the girl who got shot when she like climbed through. Did you see that video when she climbed through the window and the guy
This is
shot her?
ridiculous. Yeah, I seen
So
like her live feed. Yeah, this is crazy. Absolutely crazy.
it's not funny that someone died, but I ain't gonna lie, I was laughing.
Yep. Because
Um,
you horrible.
because like, come on, man, like
Well,
we maybe because so going back to what you were talking about,
mhm,
um, do I think that there are like other reasons for them to
mhm,
be pushing those types of stories? No. Well, yeah, at times, yes.
mhm.
But I think they know that it garners a reaction, and that's their
Yeah,
business. Their business is to put a story out, get a reaction. That's how they
mhm.
make money.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
I don't expect them to do anything else because otherwise they'd be broke.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you need clicks, you need watches, and it's whatever it is, whatever is hot at that time, they're gonna put it up and keep pressing it.
Hmm.
I think it's important for us to, because when you do see young black kids getting killed, you automatically put your son or your daughter and 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 say that that could have been them, right? Um, but it's important to. I'm not telling people not to grieve, right, or feel the feelings we feel, but we have to figure out why these things. It's almost like back in the day when they used to hang, right,
Hmm.
the strongest person in the group, black, whether black, female, whatever. He used to hang them publicly and to let people know, like, don't do X, Y, and Z again, right? As um, as proof not to mess with them, basically, right?
Hmm.
I think social media is kind of like the modern day, um, lynching smut, right? Where you you can show, you know, kids getting killed or people getting killed or people rioting or like the I think it was a sergeant or somebody was on that young black kid's head,
Hmm.
and I think it is to incite. It's to incite us on some type of level.
Well,
So
because
I
there's political incentives to do so.
right, yeah, I think it's important not to give power to that and to point your anger or your frustration in a good direction, right? There's
Hmm.
people on the ground that's been fighting since the beginning. There's organizations and people who are on front lines. And they've been there, whether it's in the news or not. So I might be getting to like be involved all the time, right? Not just when they want to use our frustration um, for a story, right? For media, for coverage. Um, have you heard of psychological warfare
Hmm.
or psyop,
Hmm.
where they basically use it's basically it's a type of warfare where you use where you're actually not fighting. So in the military, instead of like guns and guns or fighting, they use psychological warfare. So for example, um, I believe in Vietnam, I think it was Vietnam, they would use the soldiers. They would go out into the field and they would use they wear kind of like a speaker or a boom box on them, and it would play this sound, and it was like they used to call it like the wailing ghost or something, right? And they played that wailing ghost sound in the bush when it was going around, because in the culture of the people they were fighting, they believed that if you weren't buried correctly and with traditional standards and cultural steps, that your soul would go wandering in eternity forever. So they would play this wandering ghost sound to let the other soldiers, their enemy, know that this is going to be you. So, which is it's interesting because it gets into cultural differences of people, what they know about you, right? So if if I'm your enemy and I know that about you, I'm going to use that against you, right? And it almost backfired because, of course, they had some Vietnamese that are on our side fighting, and they said, "Don't play that within earshot of them because it was also affecting them too." Right? So these are cultural people that might be on different sides, fighting for different things, but being affected in the same way, right? So I bring that up to say, as Black folks, we all culturally the same in a lot of different ways, right? We grew up the same music, same foods. So when we see, people like Dante Wright getting killed by the cops, like it affects us immediately, right? And I just wonder if people pushing this stuff, these images up, is a way to psychologically affect us, some type of warfare. Because the people that were in the military, now they're in the public sector. There was components of using that psychological warfare, and they go into politics, right? They go into the private sector, and they use these same tactics. So it's possible that someone's on the other side using these tactics against us.
Of course, because there's reasons, there's incentives. If I'm pushing a gun control initiative, what better way to justify it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well,
I mean,
gun
that's
control gun control started in California from the Black Panthers, where they went to go read the laws. And this we talking about being involved and knowing what's going on, right? They read the law and said, we're allowed to carry weapons with us, open carry here in California. This is like in the 60s. What happened after that? Gun control. Oh, we can't have anybody. We can't have anybody with guns. Gun control is about not having is not allowing Black people to have guns. That's what gun control is for. That's what it's for.
yeah. I mean, I would agree.
That's the history of it.
Isn't that the history of every single law in this country? Like this is what I'm saying. Like we can't. Why do we keep? Why do we keep? I don't. First of all, I don't even watch when those videos come out. I don't even watch them. I don't
No,
watch those
I can't.
videos. I don't watch these slave movies. I don't watch anything that has to do with bringing me back to that point, because all it does is make me angry. And the first person I see is going to be a Rick James altercation, right? And so I don't even entertain those types of things, because it doesn't. Being angry, what is it? It doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
And you know what they can count on? They can count on us being angry every single time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's my point. It's like they know the cycle. We're gonna put this out, we're gonna release it. They're gonna feel this type of way. They're gonna do this, they're gonna do this, they're gonna do that. Like and it's like the same over and over and over. If you're not involved forever, like it gotta be a forever thing for you, because like you mentioned earlier, this is like decades, decades and decades and decades of change. This has to happen. And it doesn't happen overnight. So if you want to
No,
be,
you have to be there consistently. You have to be there
yeah,
all the time when it's not cool, when it's not a moment, when it's
yeah,
not on Instagram, when
mm-hmm,
it's, and there are a lot of people who are, like, I'm not saying there aren't. One of them is a good friend of ours, Kimberly Moore. She's someone who's always, she's
mm-hmm,
always doing her part.
right,
You know what I mean? But it can't just be like one person.
mm-hmm,
And not even on that, we all can't be on one issue.
yeah,
Somebody has to be involved in, in how the city runs, financially. You know what I mean? Like there has to be, someone has to be the city attorney.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like we have to continue to, to get into these areas and learn how this operates. Otherwise, they can always just count on us to be angry because there aren't enough of us
Right.
involved on the other side to
Mm-hmm.
actually implement real change. It's like the saying, young, old men to counsel, young men to war, right?
Mm-hmm.
So those of us who are older, and are and have things right to fight for, we need to be the ones who are getting involved politically, even in our
Mm-hmm.
city, just locally. That's the most important part.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then that way, the people who are out on the front lines in the street have someone to communicate with.
Mm-hmm.
But it makes no sense if you out here fighting on the street and you still got to go and try to resolve these issues with Tom Jones. He doesn't care. Tom Jones is 80 years old. He's been in that seat for however long he's been there. What does he care about how you feel today?
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
we have to be. It's a two-part thing, and one thing I've noticed, even just from moving here to LA, moving out here to Inglewood in the last however long I've been here, 5-6 years. Um, like Los Angeles is a very segregated place
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
still.
Like many other cities,
Hmm.
for
And
sure.
I think because it's a large place, it's just more evident,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because where we grew up, everything has distance, but we're really not that far apart. Like if we want to go, we have to go to these other places to do the things that we have to do anyway, like to
Mm-hmm.
shop, for entertainment, whatever. But out
Mm-hmm.
here, each area has their own version of that. So
Right.
people literally don't leave.
Mm-hmm.
They don't leave.
It's
I
more
remember going
dense.
to I remember going to our one of the appointments, for the baby, not long before she was born.
Mm-hmm.
And the doctor didn't even know, like literally didn't know what existed past like the 605,
Mm-hmm.
past the freeway.
Just like what's
She was
over there.
she was like, the only places I've ever been in life are Beverly Hills and Playa Vista
Mm.
and the airport to go somewhere else.
That's a very limiting. It's like
But
I don't
then
have. They feel like they don't have no reason to go anywhere else.
but but then what that also tells you is this person has never interacted with black people outside of their environment.
Or what they see on TV.
Yeah. So that's not an interaction though. That's a
Yeah,
representation.
they
So
believe it is though.
so when they see what they see on TV, what they hear on the radio, what they see in movies, what they see on the news,
Mm-hmm.
to them, that's what black people are.
Right.
So I feel like in I'm a huge believer in accountability, and which is why I often I don't go off on when all this stuff is going on, I stay away from it, right? But I believe in accountability, and there's a large part of that has to do with us because we keep giving them bulletin board material,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I couldn't even sneak up on them and do something I wanted to do, or not literally, but metaphorically speaking, if we actually had an initiative to to do anything, to change anything, it would be in somebody's music video by next week.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like we don't have our own networks internally.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So we can't sneak up on them. We can't do anything in quiet because we're gonna let you know.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
so until we get to that point where they no longer know what upsets us, right? We're not giving them that bulletin board material on what upsets us and
Mm-hmm.
how we're gonna move. Because again, in order to win a war, you have to understand both sides.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean you have to agree with both sides or the other side, but you have to know both sides. And they
Yeah.
know us well enough to understand how we'll react, and we don't know them.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a word.
That's how I feel. That's how I feel. A lot of people don't feel that way, but
Mm-hmm.
that's how I feel about it. I feel like if if the police have all the information, if they have all the census data, and they have all the information on the residents and how much money they make and the type of cars they drive and all this information, where they live, and they see somebody who looks out of place, I understand why they would react a certain way. Doesn't make it right, but I understand why they would react a certain way, because based on the data, this is out of place.
Yeah, I think as the the majority race, they didn't have to.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have to learn how to navigate between different cultures and different races and different people. Um, we're unique in that, and it depends on where you live too. But for the most part, if you're Black, Asian, Mexican, you're most likely either in the same neighborhoods or very close neighborhoods,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, we've had the pleasure of experiencing different cultures, and we can know, like, somebody say, Mexicans are like this, all Mexicans like, it's like, well, no, I know many Mexicans, and then it's not like that. You can automatically have a reference to go to, right? That's just not like my Black friend I work with. It's like you have a personal reference from all the way from, like, you know, middle school, high school, college, reference of different people and different cultures to pull from. And I think in many cases, um, a lot of white folks don't have that. Or all right, okay, I'm gonna just assume that they don't, because just in the way that some people react around different races.
Well, but why would they? See, again, when you got to have the data, you got to look at the data, right? And I'm gonna speak on LA County because I live here,
Mm-hmm.
but in LA County, we're less than 10% of the population. So I think it's like 8%, and it's falling every year. So for every ten people you meet in the city, one of them is mixed with Black. It's not even a whole Black person.
Right. Half a Black person.
Yeah. So yeah, they don't. If you live in certain areas, you do not interact with Black
Yeah.
people at all. You don't.
Yeah.
You never see them. And then
Mm-hmm.
when you do see them, if it's the wrong type because of the representation that, again, we don't control, right? Because of the representation, you're automatically on guard. That's They criminalize us. They've In many ways, our culture has been criminalized, and we've allowed it because it's cool. But
Mm-hmm.
our culture has been criminalized.
Yeah.
That's why they react that way. That's why when they see you, they reach for the gun.
Mm-hmm.
Because every Black person they've ever seen in the last 6 or 7 months has been talking about how they're going, or heard from, is, is in a music video talking about
Mm-hmm.
what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And it's influencing their
Yeah.
kids. It's influencing their kids now.
It's tough to okay, so cops have a job.
First of all, we're gonna get canceled after the show. I already know this is. We are about to be canceled. 4 episodes. I love y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in to Rich by Monday. This is over for us. It's over.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was fun while it lasted. We gotta come up with a new show now. I don't know.
All right. Rich by Tuesday coming next week. We blew up the spot over here.
Yeah, man.
I don't what was I gonna say? Oh, yeah, I can see how our media, mainstream, right? Mainstream Black media, because all Black people are not a monolith, right? We know there's other people doing other things. We're some of those people.
Yeah.
But if what's being influencing their kids, they see, right? They walk in and the kid ain't watching, whoever, right, who's toting a gun, talking about how many people they killed, and they go to work and see some of the people who might be, of the streets,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So now it's putting a step on what they've seen commercially or in the media and what they see in real life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, again, that's no reason to you know, kill citizens.
No, not at all.
Um, and you know, those people should be fired and you know put
No,
to
she in
bed.
jail. Yeah, like
Yeah, yeah, that too.
you kill somebody, especially on accident, you need to be in jail. Like there is no,
Yeah, yeah.
like no, you can't
100%.
just accidentally kill
Because
somebody
yeah, because what
on
they doing is
purpose.
they're firing them, and then they'll just go to another district and get hired.
Well, yeah,
So
yeah.
there's like, yeah, it's all some bull. But um,
But that's what I'm saying. If they have that kind of power, right? They have that kind of power. Us being angry doesn't solve that.
mhm,
We have to. If you think about this country's history with every other nationality that they've even when it comes to reparations, these are
mhm,
people that they've been to war with.
yeah.
We're the only people they've never been to war with.
Well, I would count the Civil War.
That
It's
wasn't
it,
us.
it's still mad about that.
That was we were fighting on. That wasn't us. We were fighting that war for
Yeah,
this country.
yeah.
Like, was,
But it was
that wasn't
against
us.
it was against half the country.
No, that was because of economic. That was because one side felt like they had economic advantages by having slaves, and they wanted to retain that.
Yeah, and they did. I mean, if you got free people to work for you, it's like, yo, who gonna do all this work?
hmm
It should be you free.
So but that's what I'm saying. Like you have to understand both sides. It's not to say that it's right. It's not to justify it. You got to give people credit for how stupid they are,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like if this person never interacts with someone who looks like you, and there's all these different, you know, ideas and false representations of you, that exist, and this is what they see, that's how they're going to treat you,
Mm-hmm.
even if you aren't even of that cloth.
I think we just get so frustrated how somebody, a grown person, a grown human being, can be so trash. Like, why don't you know about other cultures? Like, what's so interesting about you and the people around you that you have no reason to go outside that ever?
But I don't even think it's that deep. I think it's really just there's never been a need to.
Yeah, I think that's what it is for
Like
sure.
when
Yeah.
you're so insulated in from wherever you're at that there's never a need to. Like if you grew up in like Westwood by
Mm-hmm.
UCLA or something, what is the reason for you to go hang out like in Hawthorne?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or downtown Inglewood, which now is gonna be different because Inglewood has a stadium. A lot of people gonna get robbed. But I'm just saying, like,
Why they gotta get robbed?
because
Because they got it.
yeah. But I'm just saying, like, you have no reason to be there. There's no reason. Everything
Yeah.
you need is in your little bubble, and we all live in that bubble, and we all profile, which is why I don't understand why it's so hard to believe that happens. Everybody profiles. You know what I'm saying? If even if you black and you see another black dude who look a certain way coming your way, you kind of get on guard.
They gonna
Like,
cross the
yo,
street.
yeah, like yo, I don't know what he on right now.
I
Y'all,
can see them chucks coming.
you know, like we
I
we
used to
all
wear
do
chucks
that.
in high school too, and in middle school.
So I don't see what the big deal is in terms of like someone profiling. Not, of course, when it comes to you losing your life and stuff. Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah, I think
just
that's the biggest difference for
in
someone
terms of
who can profile you and take your life for it.
well, yeah, that's completely wrong. But
Yeah.
in terms of someone who doesn't interact with you or people like you on the regular, attaching you to an idea that they have that's been created in in
Mm-hmm.
in the media, like you have to be able to understand how that happens.
Yeah, definitely understand how it happens. And it doesn't even really matter what you're wearing either. You know, there's
No,
examples of people in suits that get, you know, they get beat up. Um,
that's it sucks to get beat up in a suit like
right. Yeah, you know,
that.
it's like I can't move. I can't really swing in this.
That has to be the worst. Like
Yeah, for sure.
You got a
What's
suit
your
on,
nice
and
suit?
yeah, that's wild.
Talking about get on the ground? Nah, you get on the ground. Yeah, I think it's just your dark hue. It's the dark hue, you know.
Yeah,
So,
because they're afraid of us. Like white people aren't scary,
mm-mm.
which is why they could run you over with the truck. They could take your gun and point it at you. They can do all
Mm-hmm.
that, and they're just not scared. There's no reason to be afraid of them
Mm-hmm.
in their minds.
Yeah,
There's no
it's
reason to be.
yeah,
There isn't this image and this representation hasn't been burned in their heads
yeah. It's
for
baked in.
generations. You know what I mean? There's
Yeah,
no
for sure.
reason. It's a troubled young man or a crazy old man. That's all it is to
Mm-hmm.
them. We
Mm-hmm.
got to save him.
Yeah, they're it didn't come from anywhere for sure, or nowhere for sure. It's been
Mm-hmm.
there forever since the beginning of time, since we've been here.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do. I don't know what you do about hundreds of years of baked in racism. I think
You just gotta live, bro.
you
You just gotta
dismantle it
live. You
one
gotta
day at a time.
live and do your part
Yeah,
until and hopefully get in a position to really um to make real change. Like
yeah,
it can't just be anytime something just like with investing. It can't be anytime something is hot, like Dogecoin. Now you want to put $1,000 up. Well,
mm-hmm.
if something like Dogecoin only comes up once every 12 years, what are your chances of having success investing?
Mm-hmm.
Why would you think why would you think otherwise in any other aspect of life? If I want real change when it comes to race relations and all that, I need to be working on that every day,
Mm-hmm.
either by being an example in the field that I work in and you know, breaking those barriers, filling diversity gaps, you know what I'm saying? And working your way through these networks, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's not even the being the magical Negro in your field is also not going to get you away from racism
No.
either. But um, it's part of it. I think I think it's part of it because no one can outrun it. So the only thing we can do is fight it, and
I
that
think
goes for
that
everybody. That goes for
I,
everyone.
I think when you experience it on that level, you understand it. You have a better understanding of like how far up it goes.
Mm-hmm.
And like for me, being in commercial real estate out here in South LA, like from my knowledge, I'm the only one that looks like me that's under 50.
Mm-hmm.
There's like two or three other guys, but they're all like 50, 60 years old. So I'm the
Mm-hmm.
only one that looks like me. So chances are when I call an owner and I set an appointment and when they meet me, 9 times out of 10 they're surprised.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Especially older black folks.
Mm-hmm.
Older black folks are
Yep.
like, "What?" Like, "Oh man!" Like they get excited.
Yep. I can see that.
You know what I mean? So I've told you this story where uh, where I talked to an owner and he had I think the building's like 130 units up in Chinatown, downtown
Mm-hmm.
LA. And I talked to him about some stuff. This is around the time like the rent control laws were coming into play, and he was fighting it. He wants to take the city to court because they were trying to steal his building through
Mm-hmm.
eminent domain.
Mm-hmm.
So me and my partner Drew, who's white, 6'2" white guy, played football at USC, um, you know, commercial real estate, right? So so we go there. Um, I call him, let him know I'm out front, tap the number or whatever, and he comes to the door. He opens the door, and like he says, "Come in," but he pushes me out the way.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "Yeah,
Right.
come in," but he's like pushing me, like, "Yo, come in,"
Mm-hmm.
and and then he just goes to shake, Drew's hand, like, "How
Mm-hmm.
you doing?" Blah blah blah,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess he thought he was me.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "How you doing, Jared?" Blah blah blah. And he's like, "No, I'm Drew."
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Oh," and I was like, "I'm Jared." And he's like, "Oh, okay." You could tell like it
Yeah,
was
he's
like,
caught
oh,
off
like
guard.
I thought you lived here.
Right, right.
You know what I mean? Like one of those, and I'm in a suit.
Mm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
not in street clothes. I'm in a suit.
Right.
Right. So it happens. And I think when, again, once you get to a certain point and you're breaking those barriers and you're filling those diversity gaps, you understand like it's deeper than just being angry, which is why we have to have two sides of the plan. Like it can't just be everybody getting angry. I understand that. Like I feel that. But you have to have like a liaison. You have to have somebody doing the other work. It can't just be one sided. And I think our efforts are just often one sided, you know, and just experiencing that on my own, it really made me realize how how ground floor that movement really is.
Which one?
Like ours.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? Like on our side, how ground floor that is. Like how far away we are from doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we got another 30, 40 years of this, so we'll see how it plays out. So keep tuning in week by week, and 40 years later, I'll let you know how it's going.
40 years later. Wow. So much hope.
Well, hey, this is a get rich slow scam, so this is how it go.
So to bring things on a lighter note, because I know we just went through this whole thing. Hopefully
Right.
y'all still listening. But to bring things to a lighter note, um, um, something that something that we touched on last week. Somebody actually had a conversation. Um, they reached out and had a conversation with me about, or just wanted to get a deeper. Um, they wanted to go deeper on the topic,
Mm.
and we had a brief conversation about like
Which
cost
topic was that?
versus it was cost versus value.
Okay.
So um I'll keep it quick because I know we wrapping up here, but I wanted to make sure I touched on that. So the way that it was explained, um, the last time we talked about it was, when you think about cost in terms of how you spend the money,
Mm.
it's you give the money, you get something back. When you think about value, value is, I give the money, I continue to get something back. Right.
Mm.
So one thing that I think would help people to understand that and be able to make it applicable, right, is to think about residual value.
Mm.
So, you know what residual value is,
Right. Something is
right?
the value is going to continue to come in, no matter
Well,
you
the
what you work.
the value of something at the end of its cycle or at maturity,
Mm.
right? So either at the end of its use or at maturity.
Okay.
So, so think of we talked about Rolexes, right? So think of a Rolex. If I go buy a um a nice I'm not going to say a specific one, but a nice watch,
Mm-hmm.
and it costs me 10 grand, right? The residual value, say if I held that watch for 4 or 5 years and it's either held its value or grown more in value,
Mm-hmm.
like that's the concept of, well, a value,
Okay.
right? Because it's you've been able to maintain that level, that store of value over that course of time.
Mm-hmm.
um where cost comes into play would be like a car, because that's a good example actually, because I'll never finance a new car ever
Mm-hmm.
again, um in terms of getting a loan. So when you buy a car, you're financing on that day, you're financing the cost of that car at that time plus interest, right? So if I buy a car for 30 grand, at the end of my 5-year loan, the car is worth what? Like 10,000,
Mm-hmm.
right? So in terms of value, like residual value, I can lease the vehicle, right? And the lease is financing the amount of money you lose over the course of time.
Mm-hmm.
So if I buy the car for $30,000 and I know, or the dealer knows when they sell it to me, that it's worth $15,000 in 2 years, then I'm only financing $15,000 worth of use.
Yeah, you're making payments on the depreciation.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea is spending your money on things that retain value at the end of their use cycle. So in the spirit of Dogecoin or even IPOs, right? All these new companies that come out and they're popular and people want to buy them and because it's going to go up or whatever, right? You want to make sure that the fundamentals are aligned. If you're thinking about this long term, the fundamentals are aligned so that this, whatever you spend your money on, has value beyond today.
Mm-hmm.
And when especially when we talk about these get rich quick things, we're not saying that you can't make money with it or that you shouldn't entertain it. But if you're thinking this is the long-term road to whatever it is you need to be, it's not, because there's no residual value. Like what is Dogecoin?
It's I don't know what it is.
Like how does one determine its value?
By however many other people are going to purchase it.
That sounds like a pyramid scheme.
Yeah, it is. That's a Ponzi scheme.
So I mean,
100%.
now if a person who invested $2,000 a couple months ago and now it's $200,000, they're going to say you don't know what you're talking about, and I'm fine with that. You know what I mean? But that's where that comes from. Because if you don't take that money and run, what's going to happen in the next 2 months or the next 6 months or the next year? Because you just think it's going to continue to do that.
Yeah.
What happens when that value doesn't exist anymore? Because the value was today.
Yeah. You have to have a way to get out on things like these short-term games. You know?
So don't just think we're grumpy old men who don't want you to make fast money. Like we want everybody to make money and whatnot. I just want to help people get like educated so they know what game they're playing. Like that's the biggest thing.
It's the old adage of not putting all your eggs in one basket. So if you got, $20,000 and you want to spend $200 on it on get rich quick schemes, that's a good risk tolerance to me, But if it's putting the whole 20 into the get rich quick, it's a hard no for me.
I mean, I don't know, man. It's going up.
Good luck.
To the moon, man.
It's not for me.
To the moon. Is that the name of the episode? To the moon.
Or we gonna get canceled.
That is so misleading. To the moon. And all we're talking about is racial issues.
Right. It's the we getting canceled show. To the moon. And canceled. It's like, you remember that old South Park thing? And he was like, he was going to invest their money. He's like, all right, put your money in the market. All right, here we go. All right, doing some of this. All right, here we go. And it's gone.
I mean, it's going to feel like that for some people.
Yeah. Yeah. Send me that clip if you got it. If you know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I mean, I think we covered a few topics. I mean, hopefully, we didn't. You guys are still here next week,
but it's pretty tight,
Yeah.
And, as you see, we got 2 mics now, so I hope the audio is sounding decent. And come back next week to see if I put that faceplate on that light switch. Come back to see if I do that or not. So
yeah. That's
it is making me clean up my space, So
well, yeah. I mean, you can't call it Rich by Monday and you missing the faceplate.
Hey man, like I gotta say that 10 cent put in the Dogecoin. All them dollars count.
Low key,
I would say that $3 put in the Dogecoin. This is just about.
You'd be 100 there right now if you did that.
This is ramen noodle investing. You know,
and
I save all my
not
money.
just regular. You be a high hundred, like you be the high hundreds. You know what I'm
Like
saying?
$2.99.
Yeah, high hundreds
Enough
from
to
10
buy
cents.
our next course. You know, just
I'm laughing, but I got a course coming, y'all. So I need y'all to buy it. I'm gonna need y'all to go ahead and buy that, man. You know what I'm saying?
the course is coming. You know,
It's coming.
if you
For
want
those who
someone.
don't know, we mention it every episode, so I'm gonna mention it again. We have a private stock group,
Yep,
and
stock is going up.
it's really
Pittable.
it's really like an investment group. Really, like we talk about stocks, but over time it will evolve into real estate because that's what we do naturally by trade and many other things. And even though we mostly trade options and whatnot, I've really been focusing on helping people understand the fundamentals. While the market's been tanking and then now it's kind of rebounded a bit, but it's a lot of froth, as the experts say.
Roth.
Yeah. So and you know where that word came from. So
Starbucks.
so so we're working on that. The website is almost done where you guys can go ahead and join if you want. And then I'll have, of course, we'll have an actual uh course or curriculum for people who are just getting started. Because it's mainly focused on people who are beginners and don't know where to start. So our goal is to arm you guys with the information and the resources to have a long-standing investment career and not just for the moment.
Yeah,
um,
it sounds good to me. I'll be here. So you've been here for a long time. This is like 23 years. It is.
mm-hmm.
So yeah, come join us. Come join us.
I know they like, man, just end the damn episode. All right, so we hopefully if y'all still here, man, we don't get canceled by next week.
We try our best.
We'll
Let us
be
know.
back next week.
Yeah.
And also what before you say that,
Yeah.
because I think I know what you're gonna say, but before you say that, I was thinking about implementing a like a segment or a part in the show where we like answer questions from people. So
Yeah.
during the week, sometime maybe we can put up like a Q&A before we record, so that way we can kind of use that in the show.
I thought about going live, and we can just do that on our phone. Just go live for a certain person.
I don't like going live.
Yeah, see, you don't want internet. You
Yeah,
got internet out here. You got internet. See, you're not trying to internet.
Nah, man. Because it'd be like you go live and then it's like, oh, I'm going to wait. You got like 2 people in there like, hey, what's up? And you're like, all right, I'm going to wait y'all until it's
I ain't
3
worried
more
about all
people.
that, though. I'm not worried about it. I'm going live. I'm going live. And
all
if
right,
whoever
well,
show up, you know? Can't be waiting for people to get to the party. Like, I'm a party. I'm going to have my drinks. I'm going to have my drinks. I'm going to be dancing on the dance floor. So whoever show up, show up.
All right, we're going live then. We're
So
going live.
So that's a great idea. Yeah, because that makes it so much easier. Like, we can go live for 30 minutes or whatever, drop some questions. And then I was gonna say, if you have any ideas or some topics you want us to speak on, just DM us at Rich by Monday. So this is a community, so do some community things and talk to us.
Do some community shit.
Right.
Okay. All right, man. Well,
wrap us up.
It's been a decent episode. Hopefully we still here.
I will be here, so we'll see what happens. I ain't get this equipment for nothing. Man. I'm gonna use this mic a few more times.
First day you get a mic and a camera is the last day.
Yeah. This is just some stuff I had laying around.
Yeah, tell me anything. So, all right, y'all. I appreciate you guys for tuning in and rocking with us during this time.
Thanks again.
So,
and rest in peace for our fallen soldiers. Rest in peace. And we'll be out here fighting.
Yep. And we'll check you guys next week.
All right.